Hi, welcome to the first episode of Kaimin Sports Talk. I'm your host, Andy Bixler, and I'm joined today by sports editor Jesse Flickinger and reporters/interns Andrew Houghton and Jackson Wagner. We're going to be talking today about a couple things. We're going to talk about the Super Bowl, some Grizz basketball, and then we're going to finish it up by introducing the first ever Grizzly Player of the Week selected by the Kaimin staff. So, let's get into it. I want to talk about the second day story of the Super Bowl, which I think is the Lynch-Spiracy debacle.
Yeah, Lynch-Spiracy is big. It's funny that comes up because this entire season, with Marshawn Lynch trying to do, his whole beast mode act and I don't talk and whatnot, and then for him to come up as the guy who's going to save the Seahawks, but Carroll won't let him, I don't know, I think it's funny.
There's definitely a point to it. They have a point, and I think especially when they start talking about money, and they talk about, who would the Seahawks rather pay the big contract to, because I think Russell Wilson's going to get signed for $19-20 million next year when he gets his first, big contract. I think they'd rather throw that to Russell than to Marshawn, who's, 28.
It's true.
And it's crazy, too, at the start of the season, how all the talk was about how, Marshawn Lynch isn't going to be in Seattle at the end of this year, and they were, trying to get rid of him, kind of, it seemed like, and nobody, and then he had another great season and, was the man for him and let him there. It's like, okay, now we can talk about, keeping Marshawn again. And
yeah, him and Carroll were supposedly feuding when, when the Seattle went 3-3, but the real problem was Bobby Wagner was hurt. that was really what was happening. Brock Coyle filled in really admirably, I thought, but, former Grizz linebacker, Brock Coyle.
Speaking of Coyle, on special teams, he flew out there. It's not like Edelman was some easier guy to take control of.
I think the Pats are going to be good next year.
I think the Pats are going to be good, too. Do you think the Seahawks?
Yeah. I think it all depends on who comes back. Did you see what happened to the Legion of Boom? Cam Chancellor's knee is hurt. Sherman's having Tommy John surgery, and then Jeremy Lane's arm is at a 90-degree angle right now. Still, I don't think they've unbent it. That was filthy. That was a horrible break. They have those to overcome. They have to figure out what happens to Marshawn and Russell Wilson. But really, what I think they need to do is up the wide receiver game. I think that's what shone through the most in the Super Bowl was that they didn't have a credible wide receiver to go to in that moment. They had, Chris Matthews was their best wide receiver. Matthews caught his first damn catch on Sunday.
Apparently, Chris knows how to juggle. But outside of that, the Super Bowl was really entertaining. Probably one of the best ones that's been on in recent memory. But I think what still really stole the show was the Sharks.
The Sharks were the best thing that I've ever seen. I love the beach balls, but the left shark was
she flew. People don't normally fly when they sing and stuff, and that was pretty neat. But those sharks, I don't know.
And that, Transformer that she came in on, that was awesome. I was, really hating on Katy Perry all week long. I was saying, this is going to be awful. And Katy Perry really impressed me.
I saw a lot of things. That was the first line to be in a Super Bowl almost ever. There's a lot of people talking smack to Detroit fans.
All right, moving on to something closer to home. We're going to talk some Grizz basketball now. Grizz are third in the Big Sky behind Sac State and Iwu, who they host Thursday. Yeah.
The focus has to be on Tyler Harvey, though. Especially, what DeCuire's been able to get out of Gregory, Dunn, and Brunig at this point. Eastern has basically Harvey. He is their go-to guy, and I'm pretty sure the Grizz are going to have to key on that. But if they can stop him from deep and, kind of stop on the slashing, I don't see any reason why we don't win by 5 or 10.
What I hadn't realized was that the Grizz are the number one defensive team in the conference. They were holding teams to 65.1 points a game. But what I found myself thinking about the whole time is just how do you lock down Harvey? Who do you think they put on him?
It has to be Dunn.
Yeah,
Dunn, I'm pretty sure he's averaging almost 2 steals a game, and with his ability to stay, he's a smaller guy, so he can keep up with him. And when they played, even when he was younger, last year when they were in this building, they segued between Dunn and former Grizz player Cron to Shields now. And, Cron was a little lengthier defender, but Dunn's a lot quicker at getting in front of the player, and I think that's going to help a lot with Harvey's more slashing style of play. He's going to try and get to the paint, and Dunn's good at least making that a lot more difficult. What's funny, though, is, we're getting to the midpoint of the season. We might be a little past it, but I did not see this coming. I really thought this team was going to be bottom of the Big Sky. We had a new coach, but the only 2 players with a lot of experience we have there were Wisner and Gregory, and what DeCuire's been able to get out of his guys this year is just incredible.
I think Brunig has been a huge part of that. I haven't seen a Grizzly rebound since Brian Qualley played.
That's true.
Last year was just kind of a wreck, and this year has been so much better having a reliable rebounder with Fabian. They're so much better at pulling down the ball. So last week, Vernon Adams, the Eastern Washington quarterback, visits Oregon. What do you make of that?
This is big. I mean, Vernon Adams has killed us. We played 2 games this year. We both lost. One was one loss, 36-26 in October, and then when we were in the playoffs, we had to go back there and we lost, 37-20. Adams in those games combined for almost 600 yards through the air, 7 touchdowns by himself. I mean, Eastern's someone we haven't been able to touch here in Montana since he's been there. For him to go to Oregon after Mariota, I think he's a perfect fit for that offense.
I have no idea who Oregon even has lined up at quarterback. Do you guys?
No.
I have no idea. I know that they just Mariota's little brother just committed, but I don't know anything about him. He might be a linebacker for all I know.
In the BCS National Championship game, they had that sophomore, and came in only for a play, but that throw was terrible.
Yeah, he
like,
looks.
he's not ready.
That's a tough position to be.
It
put
is a
into,
tough position, but just seeing what Vernon's been able to do against FBS competition, just at Eastern Washington.
Absolutely.
I mean, they take the OSU, right?
That was my favorite thing that I saw about the whole thing was the tweet. Someone sent out a tweet that said, why not? He's been warming up against the Pac-12 for the past 2 years. He beat Oregon State. He should have beat Washington this year. He beat Oregon State 2 years ago. That's playing with guys. Obviously they have a lot of really good players, but they don't have Oregon's lineup. Like, come on.
Yeah, exactly. You look at that Washington game. He throws for 7 touchdowns against a Washington team. Imagine what he could do with the speed weapons that Oregon has on their outside and all those kind of players. I think it's a good thing for him to do.
I think the biggest part of all this is he gets out of Cheney. Because
Absolutely.
I don't know who wants to be there.
Eugene is really, really nice, and Cheney is just not that nice.
Yeah.
Sorry, Cheney.
Yeah.
So with that, we're gonna start wrapping it up. But before we go, I'm gonna ask you guys who you think your nominations are for the Grizz Player of the Week, the inaugural Grizz Player of the Week. What's up, Jesse?
I'd want to nominate Macaulay Fowler for this week. She came off a game last week against Portland State where she went for career-high 25 points. And surprisingly, my favorite stat is she had 4 blocks. Carly Selvig's been killing it this year. She's top 10 in the nation. But when you see a game where Macaulay Fowler pulls off 4 blocks, that's insane. She ended up becoming Big Sky Conference Player of the Week for women's basketball as well. She's genuinely helped put that team together. After the loss of Jordan Sullivan and Tori Hill, I'd say Macaulay Fowler has definitely stepped it up for the Grizz.
Andrew?
Tough week for women's tennis this week. Lost to Washington State and Gonzaga, but senior Precious Batamosi beating a nationally ranked player from Washington State. Really good close match, and she's going to be a big part of their team this year. So good start to the season for her.
And I'd go more towards men's basketball. G. Feller, obviously, I've talked about him enough, but I'm going to go with Jordan Gregory, passing 1,000 career points. 27th now, closing in on 26th. Matt Martin, all-time points with 1,011. So I'm going to give Gregory my nod.
So we're going to go ahead and give the award to Macaulay Feller, who also was the co-Big Sky Conference Player of the Week this year for her 25-point outburst on 64% shooting last week. And that about does it for our first ever Kaimin Sports Talk. Thanks for joining us. Be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at Kaimin Sports.